And welcome back to the Zolteus Gaming Channel. I'm your host, Zolteus. Here with another patch notes video on Empire of Sin. It's happened, folks. This happened yesterday. I'm sorry I couldn't get this out yesterday, but I did do a stream on the new Skyrim Anniversary Edition. But the Precinct update, it's here. It happened yesterday. This is a major update, and the DLC Make It Count came out with it. I'm excited. I really am, because I've been looking forward to this particular update and this DLC all year, and I'm glad it's out now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at these updates. Let's see some of the changes that they have made. So first off, added enemy reveals. I like that. I like that they added enemy reveals when attacking a boss safe house. That'll make it a little bit more transparent as far as who and when to attack. I do like that they added a rename option to Rackets. Sometimes they just have goofy names, and I wish it was a little bit more customizable. They're doing that, and I do like that. Additionally, that negotiation path for the first sit-down meets, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know the right feeling used to describe it, but the first meets always just felt like, oh, hi, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm really disappointed with how you're talking to me. Or, oh, yeah, I'm a real big pushover. Go ahead and tell me what to do kind of deal. I really hope this negotiation path adds more option and more flavor to that first meet sit down. So I'm really hoping that that this has a lot of good meat to it. All right, so they reworked asset loading to improve performance. I'm glad that they're actually taking that into account. So many games, especially nowadays, they add, and they don't take into account the fact that they are going to create hits and performance for people. And then you have to download mods to improve performance, and it can just be a hassle. So I'm glad that they're doing that. I'm glad that they're taking that kind of approach to these major patches. That's good. Updated gear score calculations to reduce the impact of consumable multiple weapons on auto resolve. So auto resolve is always going to be one of those wild cards, right, where you just kind of have to hope everything falls into place. There's always that percentage, right, where it's like, oh, it's 87%, and then you something bad happens within that 13%. Maybe you don't lose, but maybe something happens to make the outcome for some people so unfavorable that they're just like, no, I got to reload and I got to save scum now. And I'm glad that an updated gear score calculation will go into the impact of auto resolve, so that's good. All right, moving down to economy, added the potential for loot crates to reward cash. I'm kind of happy about this. Maybe that kind of breaks the game a little bit as far as money goes, but I was getting tired of the same old when it came to weapons and consumables that we would find in loot crates. So I'm kind of happy that cash is now a thing in loot crates. So that's good. All right, rebalanced the cost and time of rackets and improvements. So I'm very curious to see how this works, because a month's time in game, a lot of things can happen, and some of those improvements for rackets were that long, if not longer, and it was very tedious and time consuming. So when they see rebalanced cost and time, I really hope it just costs more and the time frame is less, because personally, it's my own personal thought, but I hated just kind of sitting around dealing with random attacks or attacking, having to do all of the, little micromanagement stuff that we all do on simulations, right? But doing that micromanagement stuff kind of took away from the fact that at some point you have to just focus on improving your rackets, and you just have to sit around and just wait and wait and wait. And I'm glad that they rebalanced that. Additionally, I don't know how to feel about reducing the starting cash amount. I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. The thing with this is they've already opened this up to the modding community. So if for some reason you don't like the reduced starting cash amount, I'm sure a mod will come out sometime to fix that. So yeah, I am very happy with the rebalance. Depending on how they rebalance it, if they make the improvements that longer than they were, it's I promise you mods are going to come out to change that. And I like it when mods happen because they make the game much more replayable, but I don't want it to fix things that for me personally are just annoying. So, take it for what it is, but at a minimum, they thought that they needed to rebalance some things. So I'm hoping that everyone appreciates that rebalance and doesn't come to dislike it. All right, moving down to diplomacy. Temporary business arrangements increase the duration from 1 month to 3 months. We will see how this plays into AI bosses just breaking agreements for no reason, but I'm glad that it's a longer duration, because what's the point of having a business arrangement that only lasts a month unless you specifically meant it to do so? So we'll see how that goes. And allowed factions to offer non-aggression pacts as long as they are not at war with the other faction. I do like this because then at a minimum it gives you a sense of who is willing to attack you, who is not willing to attack you, and who your AI bosses are not willing to attack. So I think that adds more strategic aspects to the game. So I'm very happy to see something like that. I hope it works the way it was intended. All right, moving down to gangsters. Con artists can now be used as moles and will try to steal money when placed. I really like that, especially the fact that you have these moles. They're gathering information for you. They're doing certain quests, but why can't you place someone in there that will filter more than just intel to you? I like this addition. I think that will be very, very fun to try to use, and anytime we can make the game more fun, I am definitely on. Hired gangsters now spawn directly beside the currently selected group instead of blocks away when outside. That was just straight annoying. Glad that got fixed. Additionally, the Doctor Heal profession ability now removes all negative statuses. Awesome. I was like, what's the point of being a doctor, having the heal ability and it not remove negative statuses? I'm glad this got changed. All right, moving down to mission. Two things that I'm curious to see how they pan out. Added tooltips to the mission screen and reward tabs and items. Very curious to see what that looks like. Tooltips help in a lot of different ways. They provide a lot of good stats sometimes, and sometimes they are just implemented poorly. So we'll see how this goes. Additionally, there's several things that have been updated with missions. I could go over every one of them, but just know that some missions may have changed a little bit. So just keep an eye out on that, and don't be surprised if a mission has changed. All right, moving down to combat. Reduce the damage of all rifles and sniper rifles by 10%. I know why this happened. I'm kind of sad that because you expect rifles, especially sniper rifles, to do a lot of damage and have that one-hit kill, especially with sniper rifles, as a possibility. Reducing the damage by 10%, doesn't make it entirely impossible or very unlikely. But you still, now it's not even 50-50. I'm pretty sure it's actually closer to like 60-40 or even 70-30, with the 40% or 30% chance to be a one-hit kill with a sniper rifle. Now, if that were the case, and you could get away with it, people would just be packing sniper rifles all the time, right? But still, I could see reducing the damage of 10% on rifles. I'm not a huge fan of doing that with sniper rifles. But, we'll see kind of how it affects everything. All right, we've got some rebalances and updates. We've got rebalance to minor factions, and they introduced the foreman class, which I guess is kind of like an elite class, and they've done the same thing to thugs and added the thug heavy class. So now not every thug you run into will be like 40 or 60 hit points. There'll be a thug heavy class, which means you're not just going to be able to one-shot all the thugs that you come across. So I like that. I like that they introduced that, because thugs to me were just punching bags. Like, oh, okay, either I need to find loot crates and they're surrounded by these thugs that I can one-shot, or, so I'm glad they added that. It adds, more simulation and strategy to encountering them. That's good. All right, so we've also updated weapon ranges of all weapons. I'm going to need to see this to really understand what this means. Whether it's more realistic or more engaging, who knows? We'll see. But at a minimum, we've got updated weapon ranges, so be aware of that when you go into the new update. Boss abilities. Lowered AP cost to 1, but we've lowered the kill down count to 3 kills. So a few things to take into consideration there. It's nice that it's down to 1 AP, but just also remember that while it was boosted by reducing its AP, we've lowered the kill down count. So, it's a give and take here, right? Ooh, for those of you who like the ability Last Rites, the range has been increased. It now has a wider range, and that will make that particular boss very, very appetizing for a lot of people now, because Last Rites is an amazing ability, and to make it even further ranged, I mean, maybe the boss ability modifiers will make it less attractive, but it's not going to be by much. And then to increase it from 8 to 12 tiles, that's going to be a big deal. I see a lot of people using Last Rites now because of that. Made enemy boss abilities available at the beginning of combat. So this is going to add another layer of depth to how you approach attacking a boss. They now are going to have their boss abilities available from the very beginning of combat. Keep that in mind when attacking a safe house. Bleeding out enemies should now drop loot at the end of combat. I did not know that they weren't dropping loot. I mean, I noticed that they weren't, but I didn't think it was because of a problem in the code. I just thought that I was just unlucky. I'm glad that they found that and changed that. That's good. Moving down to AI, minor factions now gain faction rating each week during a protection agreement. Good. What's the point of creating all these agreements other than just to keep them out of your hair if you're not going to gain any kind of faction rating with them? So I'm glad. Additionally, trades are now limited, and they remember previous deals. Once again, we'll add that layer where they'll know what you're trading them, and they'll know. And now it's a little bit more limited, but they'll remember what you traded them. So that's good. AI will be more aggressive about taking over thug precinct depots depending on difficulty level. I'm very curious to see how this affects the game, because now that's going to be, because thugs are easier to beat than players or other bosses, right? So that means that AI, according to this, will start clamoring over thug-controlled territory much more aggressively. So I'm very curious to see how this changes some of that strategy to who goes for what and how. Negative faction rating is removed when you are polite to the AI in event pop-ups. I always wondered why you would get negative faction rating just because you're being nice to someone. Whether it was negative faction rating with them or with other factions. All bosses understand diplomacy. Like, you can't hold it against another boss for doing something like that, especially when you would do the same thing. Glad this is a thing. All right, moving down to interface. They've made some changes to controller usage. So now, automatically deselect a targeted action by moving the cursor. The pause button now works for delay turn, skip turn, and hit and chance and crit chance are now easier accessible with the controller. So for those of you who like using the controller, we're getting some more help with that. And then look out for mods, because they did say that they are making it much more modder friendly. So hopefully we'll get some mods for the controller for those of you who really prefer the controller. And trust me, I understand. I like controller for certain games too. So, all right, we've got some overhauls, folks. Diplomacy screen now shows treaties, faction ratings, and diplomatic abilities. That mission complete screen gives a recap and better reward details. That is awesome. Character rap sheet better highlights profession bonuses, active talents, and role/promotions. Awesome. And the miscellaneous slot to a trinket slot. Change that to a trinket slot and remove trinkets from being equipable on the armor slot. So they've done a lot of good overhauls here, but I'm actually much more excited, sadly enough, about this one, because I tell you what, the mission recap and what rewards you got were so dull, bland, and quick. I didn't know if it was good or bad, and I would have to just spend time afterwards to figure out if it was. I really hope that this, like when they say better reward, better details, I hope it's really good details. I'm excited for this. I'm hopeful on this one. And now down to art, audio, and text. One of the last ones I will go over: improved building colors on the world map. So aesthetically, it really wasn't bad, but there were some times where some of the building colors, I didn't know if it was light red, dark red, or pink, and I really hope they just made them more distinguishable. It was a visualization thing for me. I don't know if it happened for you guys, but I hope what they mean by improved building colors was specifically made them more distinguishable, because whenever you would have max number of gangsters or bosses on the map, sometimes those colors would blend, and I just didn't know if I was dealing with one faction or another, and I would have to constantly mouse over them to figure that out. So I'm glad that is the case. Additionally, and I'm not going to go over these, but they made a lot of fixes, and just to give you an idea, like, lot of fixes, as you can see, lots of fixes. So keep that in mind when you play this. The precinct update is a major update. We're talking massive, and then add the DLC on top of that. That's a lot. So keep that in mind when going into any new playthrough, or they did say that this should be save friendly. So going into an already made save, there's all of these changes are going to be made, and so you may have to, re-vector what you're doing or how you think things work, because with the precinct update, lots of changes have just came. So that's going to do it for the patch. Precinct update patch and the Make It Count DLC. One thing I will say before I end the episode, I am going to do a playthrough now with this new Precinct update and the Make It Count DLC. I will do them as quickly as I can, but I also really want to enjoy it. So, because I'm really after reading all of these, updates, I'm really hopeful for this update and the DLC. So, I am going to do a playthrough. It's not going to be nearly as instructional as my first playthrough was, but I am going to highlight anything that I see that has been changed that I think is just amazing or I think is not so amazing. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like and subscribe for more content. And as always, I will see you in the next video.